Hello, friends. I'm Nicole Song, and this is the School of Self-Worth. Welcome back. Today, I'm talking to you about something that nobody else truly talks about, and that is the real reason Asian American women are unseen and unheard in your job. I'm going to get into the heart of why you're not registering as a leader with your boss and the leadership above them, and how to reverse the cultural conditioning that is likely getting in your way. This topic is so in demand from my clients. I could spend hours talking about it. So I can't wait to break it down for you. I'm not going to take hours today. We're going to get to the heart of the matter so quickly. Before we get started, if you are a high achieving Asian American corporate leader who wants to feel valued and visible so that you nail the next promotion cycle, DM me valued on Instagram. I've got some more details over there for you at Nicole Song. Okay, friends, let's do this. Okay, friends, have you ever noticed that you are the employee who is always expected to do all of the work? Like you're the nitty gritty person, you are the workhorse. Well, when it comes to promotions or to leadership, more often than not, you are excluded from those conversations. Other people are the ones who are advancing and getting ahead. And this has happened so many times now, you just feel so unseen. You feel unheard. You feel unappreciated. And even if you are getting some of those promotions, you still feel like you're not really included in those pivotal conversations that are around direction and the big picture and the future and the strategy. And that's where you really want to be. And so I'm going to tell you first about what is happening. And this is the reason why you are remaining in this place where you're not really feeling like you're at the table. And here's why your hard work isn't actually getting you where you want to go. And it's not that your bosses are clueless, even though we would love to think that. It's not actually because of that. It's because you are stuck in an old cycle and pattern that has been on loop repeat since you were a child. And that is hard work equals success. Say hello to cultural conditioning. This started when you were so young, when you were a kid, and it started really actually with your parents. And we are never here to blame our parents. Let's be honest, I really actually don't subscribe to that. We're here to understand. We're here to discern and to learn about the things we didn't learn and what we did learn when we were kids. And so part of the reason you work so hard is, well, honestly, it's because you have immigrant parents and they didn't have the language skills in general in life, right? So they had to work really hard, or their education may not have transferred from the country that they are from. And so the only way for them to get ahead was for them to work harder than everybody else. And that was the only way they could actually even probably make the amount of money that they needed to help your family survive. And so they taught you that. And then the other thing that was occurring is because they are from an Asian culture, is that they also have a value of the collective. So in Asian culture, harmony and the collective is a huge part of how you grow up and it's how you're raised. And so what you do reflects on everybody around you and in particular on your family. And so this was probably very subtle, like you were never told this per se, but you were taught this, and that people are far more who up in an Asian family are far more likely to toe the line, like being obedient, being humble, don't embarrass anybody, get the good grades, right? Make them proud was more important than anything else. And so this is why your parents probably emphasized good grades, a good college, a good salary. They probably cared a lot who you hung out with because all of that was a reflection upon them and how they were raising you. And so when you grow up in that environment, that can be, that can be challenging to be like, wow, like I always have to make sure that everything I do is reflective of my family. And that challenge can come up for so many people. And then let's now bring in American culture, Western culture, which is all about the individual. 90% individualism is roughly the rating that America gets around this. And so now you have this culture at home of harmony and the family. And then you have this culture out in the world of the individual. And in that situation, you're supposed to be loud. You're supposed to be out there. Like, notice the kids who probably got recognized even when you were younger. It's the kids who spoke up, it's the kids who raised their hands. And that was what was rewarded. But you were taught to like be quiet, listen to your teacher, do what they say. And so when you're not rewarded for being quiet, and in fact, you're probably punished for that in terms of, or penalized in that people tell you to speak up more, or like, why are you so quiet? You start to internalize that that is actually true. And this is the case for who you are, that you are a quiet person. Like, think about, why are so many Asian Americans given that idea of being the quiet person? But if you know anything about Asian cultures, like my family in Taiwan is like extremely loud. And you might be like, okay, this is actually not true that we're quiet. It's just something that has been imposed over time culturally. So then what happens though is you stop speaking up in school, you don't speak up in college, and now you have a job where you're also expected to speak up and you are not doing it. So can you see how quickly this gets so messy? And now you're a full grown adult and you're like, what is happening? I don't understand why everything that I was taught, everything that I learned got me so far. And the thing is, the hard work does actually get you pretty far. It'll get you probably 5, 10 years into your career where you're like doing really well, you're advancing generally. And then you hit a ceiling and you're like, I cannot figure out how to break through this. And so, now we're also adding in that you have been doing this pattern for decades, and it can feel impossible to break. But I promise you that it can be done. And this is what my clients in Your Clear Calling are doing every day, is really looking at that cultural conditioning that is causing them to hold back, to people please, to worry about what everyone else is thinking about them, to work insane hours to try to prove themselves, and then feeling so frustrated because everything they're doing doesn't feel like it's working. They still don't have the seat at the table that they want. They're feeling so unappreciated and they're really struggling. So I want to break this down today about the 3 simple steps you can do to reverse cultural conditioning, make it simpler and make it easier. And this is how successful, high achieving Asian American women can rewire themselves so they can truly own their authentic voice and step into their full potential. And that's what I am so passionate about. It's what I do every single day, is supporting Asian American women to really be in that full potentiality of their own voice and owning their own voice in a totally authentic way. I'm not about forcing you to speak up. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in you trying to adapt to the Western way, but I am trying to get you to actually understand that you have a voice inherently within you, and this conditioning and all of the things that you've learned in your lifetime have taught you to suppress it or to even think that it doesn't exist. And that is a lie. Each of you has a voice. Each of you has something to say. Each of you has something interesting and unique that needs to go into the world. And what you're doing is you're hiding it and you're holding it back because of all of these other things that I've been talking about. And I'm a stand for you to get into your life in a totally different way, to be able to speak up. Because I am also a formerly quiet Asian American girl. I mean, I literally never spoke up most of my life until I understood that I did have a voice. I had something to say, and it's how I became a yoga teacher. It's how I have a podcast and I'm talking to you right now. So here are 3 of the simple steps to get there. These are simple and yet deep and vast, which, like I like to say to my clients, like, the action is simple, the execution can be require quite a bit of accountability. And like, let's also really remember and understand habits. These are mental habits. Mental habits habits of any type take roughly 30 to 40 days to break with consistent action. If you're not consistent about them, you're going to keep going back into the old habits. So we want to remember this is a long-term investment in yourself. And so I'm going to give you those simple steps. And I'm also going to give you a pathway to learn how to do this with support and accountability, because I find that habits only really truly can shift with that deep accountability. Otherwise, we just fall back into the ones we've known. And again, we're looking at really, again, decades of patterning and conditioning. Okay, now you're like, okay, Nicole, just give me the steps. So here's the steps. The first step, this is the first simple step to this, is to give up emotional reactivity. I talk about this one all the time, and I still cannot stress this one enough. It's so essential. And you might have grown reactive from not being seen or heard. Like, that might have been you were in the back, you were being really quiet, but you're actually feeling mad or angry that no one's paying attention to you or giving you the kudos that you feel like you deserve, or when you're working super hard and then they pass your work on to somebody else for the credit. Like those kinds of things might make you really mad. And you might feel resentful or you might feel angry that you're not getting valued or nobody is hearing your voice. You also might be doing this with your family. Like you're like, why didn't anyone teach me any different? Why didn't I learn how to be a impactful person with gravitas and leadership? And if you're not really cleaned up on that, if you haven't really understood how to give up that reactivity, it's going to be very difficult to actually step into that role of leader. And I promise you that this one is blocking you big time. Whenever I have conversations with Asian American women about this, I'm like, look at the leaders around you. Are they emotionally reactive? And if they are, they're probably not ones that you respect. The ones you respect, I bet you anything, are so calm. It doesn't matter what anybody says. They are just grounded. They hold who they are no matter what's happening around them. Because to be a leader, you have to be in emotional mastery. You have to be able to deal with unexpected things all the time. And basically, the job of a leader is to deal with the fires, right? You don't go to leaders with day-to-day problems that are easy to fix. You go to them with the things that feel impossible. And to be that person, you have to be non-reactive. You have to be able to stay clear so that you can actually intuitively and strategically bring your organization, your team, whoever it is you're leading, to that next stage. So when you really have started to master your emotions and you really spend the time on this, you'll start to understand why this is so essential for what you're doing as a leader at work. By the way, giving up emotional reactivity helps you in all areas of your life. It helps you with relationships, with your family, with your friends. It helps you with every component of your life, I promise you. But that is the first simple thing to do, is to really start to get a hold of your emotions. And I will add this, like, you probably didn't learn about emotions when you were a kid. I know that I was never taught that. And like, even people to this day, most adults struggle with their emotions if they weren't really taught how to process them and how to regulate yourself with your emotions. And so this one is a big chunk and yet an essential thing at the same time. Like, give up the emotional reactivity. How can you start to be somebody who can be clear and smooth about everything? So if you can give up that emotional reactivity, that is the key, and that is the first essential step. The second essential step is to separate your self-worth from your job. Separate your self-worth from your job. Sounds so easy. I know. This is actually one where the more your worth and value is tied to your job, the more you're hampering your growth. You are not allowing yourself to express yourself fully, to be in your authentic voice, because you tie your success to your job. And now everything is hinging on your job. If you're not succeeding at work, you feel terrible about yourself. And that means that you work harder to try to prove yourself, to prove that you're worthy of this job, that means you're a successful human in the world. And so when we start to learn to give up worrying about making your boss happy, overwork because you think you have to prove something, being attached to the promotions. I mean, this is such a big one. I have a whole episode on non-attachment because it's a really key part of being a leader. This is when you are not present with your life. This is when you're out with your family and you're thinking about work. And this is when you're feeling that blend all the time of stress and overthinking that's happening in every realm of your life. And it's all because your self-worth is tied to your job instead of the truth, which is you are worthy because you're here. Your worth and value has nothing to do with your output, your productivity, how much money you make, your title. It has everything to do with just being human, and being here means that you are worthy of getting to have the life that you want. And so when we really have to, this one takes some digging in, and in Your Clear Calling, we do a lot of work on the self-worth piece to understand how much we are outsourcing something that should be inherent to who you are to our jobs. And again, something that you probably learned, like when you were, if you were not coming home with A pluses and your parents were disappointed, you started to associate success with that A plus. And then when you were older with a job, you did the same thing. You just outsourced it now to your job. And so what we work on so much in your clear calling is getting you out of that old pattern and that old cycle, because that's when you get free. I promise you, every time my clients really do this, this is actually when they get promoted. That's the funny thing. When you're detached from this and you're like, I'm good, I'm fine, I'm just going to do what I want to do, like that's almost, I promise you, the time that they actually get the job that they were seeking. This is like it's like a funny thing. Whenever you really master this cycle, that's when the promotions happen. So separating your self-worth from your job, being really detached from what you really want, and yet in total pursuit of it, like putting in the steps and the action, that is a really miracle, magical combination that makes such a big difference for so many of my Asian American clients. Okay, so we have first emotional mastery, giving up emotional reactivity. The second one is superpowered self worth, which is separating your self worth from your job. And the third one, this one is such a fun one, and it's really important to learn, which is to prioritize your opinion of yourself, AKA, stop worrying about what other people think of you. So this is an old one that is time to shake, which is worrying about what other people think. And this comes from, again, that cultural conditioning of you cared what your parents thought, you wanted to make them happy, and then you transfer that when you're older to your friends, your boss, your partner. And you might still actually worry quite a bit about what your parents think of you, or you're so worried about what your bosses think about you, you're not actually focused on the actions you can take and being that strategic, smart, thoughtful leader. And when you prioritize their opinions of you over your own opinion of you, it's time for you to tune into that. Because also, if you are being hard on yourself all the time, and if you're always thinking like you didn't do enough, I'm not good enough, it's time to tune in and start to change that channel, to turn that channel into what is great. Like, what am I doing well? What can I feel really happy and satisfied about today? Our brains are constantly trying to like look for the negative to protect us. And so we have to be purposeful and intentional about like, what did I do well? What am I doing great? And this can help you on many different levels. This helps you first on being able to advocate for yourself and feeling really confident about that. But also, the more you step into prioritizing your opinion of yourself, confidence naturally flows. So many women tell me, they're like, I want to be more confident at work. I want to be confident in what I say. And I was like, well, that comes from faith in yourself. And faith in yourself has to come from your opinion of yourself, is that you really feel like you are a worthy human worth celebrating. And if you don't feel like you're a worthy human worth celebrating, you're going to struggle to get other people to celebrate you. Or if they celebrate you, you push it away. I see this so much. Like a lot of my clients get really challenged with receiving. And so we have to practice working on it ourselves so we can start to receive the great, amazing things that are happening in your life. And this is where also imposter syndrome might be coming in for you, where you're like, I'm not worthy of like being this next level or putting my voice out there. And I promise you, if you prioritize your opinion of yourself, that's when it doesn't make those things go away, but it allows you to move forward even when those things come up. So I know that these steps are simple, and yet they're big and profound. And they're all things that we work on inside my course, because it takes time for us to untangle this programming. It's old, it's deep, it's been in there, it's kind of hardwired into you. And you have to learn to make the small steps to shift them every single day so that you can truly be the person who is ready for what's next, to be that strategic leader, to be the person who is recognized, who's valued, who's appreciated. Because if you are still stuck in all that old cultural conditioning, it's going to be really hard for you. You're making the pathway, those blocks are bigger than they need to be. So if you're a high achieving Asian American woman who wants this, who's like, I'm ready for this, DM me valued at Nicole Song on Instagram, and let's have a chat, because it's important for you to understand that this is something, this is worthwhile work. It is the most profound work you'll ever do. And the results for people are truly astounding. So DM me valued on Instagram at Nicole Song, and let's chat if you want to go deeper with this. And in the meantime, I would love to hear whatever you got from this episode. Screenshot it, DM me, share it up on Instagram, and let others know that this conversation really made a difference for you. And I'm so grateful for all of you for being here, for listening, and I'll see you in our next episode.